Some major news today in the world of sports. The International Olympic Committee has banned transgender women athletes from Olympic competition. The IOC's new policy limits eligibility for any female category event to biological females. That includes individual and team sports. The committee says eligibility will now be determined by a one-time genetic screening of athletes. The policy aligns with U.S. President Donald Trump's executive order on women's sports ahead of the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles. It's not clear how many transgender women are competing at an Olympic level presently. The IOC says this policy will, quote, protect fairness, safety, and integrity in the female category. So let's stay on the story and bring in Harrison Browne. He is the first openly transgender athlete in professional hockey and played in the National Women's Hockey League. He is also the co-author of Let Us Play, Winning the Battle for Gender-Diverse Athletes. And you may also recognize him from the popular series Heated Rivalry. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much, Harrison. Okay, so when you heard about this decision from the IOC, what went through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I was scrolling on my phone and the New York Times article came up and I was immediately disappointed. It's not surprising seeing the attacks on transgender athletes and transgender women and their ability to participate, but it's definitely disappointing to see IOC take a stance like this.
And the policy will come into effect for, as I was mentioning, the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympics. How do you think this is going to affect trans athletes who are training now and maybe hoping to make it to the Olympics?
Yeah, I think devoting your life to a sport is a lot of sacrifice, is a deeply personal journey, and I really feel for the athletes who might have their dreams kind of squashed through this. I think every athlete deserves to have the opportunity to display their sport at the highest level.
Yeah, and the IOC says this is about to maintain, I'm quoting them, fairness, safety, and integrity in the female category. What do you say to that?
Well, we hear fairness in sport as a big reason to bar trans people from participating in sports. It's always fairness in sports, or even the term fair is used in like the bans and things like that we're seeing. But sports inherently are not fair, and trans people are not the biggest barrier to fairness. What we see is socioeconomic status. What makes an athlete a great athlete? Hormones, chromosomes, doesn't really play that big of a part when you look at how an athlete trains. Do they have access to world-class equipment, world-class coaching, world-class teammates and opponents and things like that, and nutrition? That's what the real barriers to fairness in sports, and we're really neglecting that.
And part of this policy includes mandatory gene testing, and it only applies to women's categories. What concerns you about that?
Oh, it concerns me a lot, and we're seeing a lot of people raise questions about this because sex testing was done away with in the 90s. We'd seen quite a sordid history of certificates of femininity, nude parades, and also when it came to the chromosome testing, dubious results, inaccurate results, false positives. And it was done away with because of that, because of all the discrepancies that these types of testings have. People playing on the women's side are scrutinized, their bodies are scrutinized in this way, and their athletic prowess is capped. We don't see this on the men's side. We can look to people like Michael Phelps, who have been scientifically proven to have a biological advantage over his swimming peers. Why is that celebrated? Why is it scrutinized on the women's side? It doesn't add up.
And for you, what has sport meant to you growing up?
Yeah, sports was everything to me. I was a hockey player before I got into acting and things like that. And I can truly say that I would not be here without sports. It gave me an escape. It gave me an identity that I could latch onto as athlete. I didn't have to identify as a man, as a woman. I was just a hockey player. And I found so much solace in that. And I gained a lot of friendships, gained a lot of life lessons, like looking past like Olympic caliber and trying to be professional. When it comes to the ethos of sports, it's getting to know your body. It's trying new things. It's gaining that confidence and those life lessons. And we're really overlooking that right now. And the people that are affected the most are children. And that to me is deeply sad.
Tell me a little bit about that in terms of some of the messaging that gets trickled down to maybe young kids who are trans, who might feel as though they can't participate in sport.
Yeah, anytime that you're othered. We're seeing things that say like trans girls are not girls, trans boys are not boys. And anytime that you are segregated from your peers, especially as youth, I think we can all look back to instances where we felt ostracized, where we felt different, and it can feel really isolating. And that leads to a lot of depression. It leads to a lot of different things that can really deeply affect a child and their upbringing. So I think we can really look back to who's impacted the most by this, and who do we need to protect the most? It's children, and fostering an environment where they can be themselves and celebrated for who they are.
Yeah, so what is your message to maybe some young athletes out there who may be discouraged by this decision?
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of people fighting for you. Like, I know there's a ton of negativity, and there's a ton of political power behind trying to ostracize you, but there are people fighting for you behind the scenes. I know for me, I get messages all the time from support, from allies that are like, we are fighting for you. So know that you're not alone. There's people that have your back. I have your back, and you have the opportunity and the right to be who you are, play the sport that you want to play, and be able to express yourself the way you want to express. So we're fighting for you, and stay strong.
Harrison, appreciate you coming in and talking to us about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And that's former hockey player Harrison Browne.